two on the box Chevy. The videos be getting too damn long. I probably don't show enough. But this is part 2. The rest of it is still got to line the front. Everything up front is good. You can see all that on part 1. We have the motor, axles. We have the back coilover all set up. We have the anti-roll. We have the control arms for the back motors. Anti-roll links, uppers. We got long tabs. We got the inserts. We got the long coilover brackets and bolts. We got the bearings and seals. Motor decals. We got short tabs, depending on. This is stuff I need to write down. Once I get that cross brace up in there, you know, get this part cut out. Get the cross brace. Cross brace always on 28s and 26s, whatever on the box Chevy. You go as close as you can to this curve and as high up as you can to this curve. Then when you set the shocks, this box, oh yeah, I got the boxes on there. Couldn't see shit on this side. Jacked up my weld. I mean, it's not bad, but I had to change the lens in my shield because I abused my shit. Gotta get these control arms out right now so I can put the double adjustables in it so I can lock this in. The rear end is 1/4 of an inch to the right. That's got to do with them stock uppers. Now the bells are a little thin right there and then thicker. And I like to burn down, then twist it around, make them both together. Doesn't really come out too bad. I guess that one's the best. But that little welder, and you get the insides as fat as you can get the insides. As far as you can get the insides. You want to weld the shit out of that. You can see the penetration in the housing, the rainbow. Penetration and rainbow. Yep, that just came out of my mouth. Frame rails cleaned up, painted up. Bam. But yeah, I'm gonna get these control arms set up in here. So originally I was gonna go from this edge to this edge. Ooh, you know what? That's still fucking hot. That's hot. I ended up going, what is it, 9.5 or 9 inches from here. No, 9.5. 9.5. 9 inches from here. Inside of this lip to outside of this box is 9 inches. Then that makes 35 inches between box to box. Then these are the offset ones. So when I get them, when I used to make these all the time, I would cut these brackets and I'd put these on here and I would offset them. So the right one would be in a little more, left one would be in a little more. So that way straight up, the coilover will have plenty of room, clearance on the outside. It's a pain in the ass to get the tab on up there and fully welded, which again, I weld both sides of the tab. I start with the outsides of the tab first, then the inside of the tabs. When you weld the outside first, they kind of open. When you weld the inside, boom. Then when you put the shock up in there, it slides right up in there. If you weld the inside first, it makes it close, then you gotta pry it open. And I don't use them little spacers up there, you know. Boom, tab to tab. So anyways, that keeps the coilover. Now, these are made offset. So that way you can do whichever way. But so you keep the box. You know, some people say, oh, you can't run it straight. The lower control arm can't be run straight. Oh, well, it's got to be on a little angle. That's bullshit. Then when I do my brace through here, I cut the bar at 36 inches. I put the bend in it, 2 3/4 on an 8.5. Boom, my little bender, whatever the hell it's at over there. And grind up the bottom of this housing, clean it all up, be able to weld that tube to here. And on the back side of here, real fucking hot. Because it's cast, you gotta have it hot to weld it. Both these boxes are set at 90, the rear end's at 90. actually cutting off. So 2 cuts, like I was saying. So you have measure from the outside, same way you measure whatever. So this will be my first cut. So I keep all this the same, and then I'm still going to figure out my second cut, which will be from here, you know, the 2 7/8, 2 whatever the hell the number is. Boom. Then you bevel this, you put your bar in there, boom, put your end, get rid of this nasty ass bearing and seal, boom, and then you clock your end. You have a nice little degree wheel. So that way, when you go to put the end back on, you can move it to wherever you want. Lower the better. And then the bigger the caliper, the better the fitment. So if you guys are nailing rear ends out there, always clock it more if it's a small caliper. So that way later on, if they want to upgrade to big calipers, they've got the room. Even though the bigger kits have 3 different positions on the backing plate to move the bracket, to move the caliper bracket, but the small ones don't. So clock them. So let's see. $50 degrees. So if you made it 50 degrees, that would be perfect. I see people out there that they barely clock the end, so they only clock it a little bit. And I don't know why people are so worried about where the caliper sits. Yeah, you don't want it on the bottom. Yeah, you don't want it like here because it looks like shit. You want, I mean, you know, somewhere right in here. It's out of the way of everything. Well, for me it is, because I use the super drop boxes. I have my style. This is my style. This has been my style since, for years now. It's been my style. So when you see other people doing it, they watch me, they copy me, and it's cool. The whole reason I do it is try to make it, I've been trying to make it so much easier all these years to do stuff. So then you see a couple cars that go other places, or a couple cars that get sold to other people, and then other people upgrade and this and that. There's still people out there mini tubbing cars when they don't need to be mini tubbed. You know, a 24 by 10, 11 overall, I can fit on G-bodies with the ass end stuffed and not have to tub them. Yes. Do I roll the tubs a little bit? Do I bang on the tubs a little bit? Yes. But so if your car has shitty tubs in it to begin with, you should, you know, go ahead and put tubs in it. But the way that I set these rear ends up, I designed this box with the bracket on the back, this and that. At first I was doing just a strip on the back. I always use, once I found out about these super drops, they help so much. If you got a shock that's too long, it fits in there, it works in there. When you see those guys with the caliper bracket is, you know, bolted down here, then or not the caliper bracket, the coilover bracket is bolted all the way down at the bottom, and then it loops, and only 2 bolts are hanging in there. It's bending it, it's flexing it right here. Well, yeah, spend a little more money, but it looks better. It lasts longer. You don't have to change it ever. You can run whatever size shock. So let's say you've got a 12-inch shock or a 10-inch shock. Then you want to get into some racing. Now you got all this adjustment for racing to get it to hook. You can put a 14-inch shock on there, so that way you can have anti-squash. You can have the ass end separate. Boom. Alright, well, let me get these control arms in here. Let me see, let me show you guys something. You see that shadow on it now? Flag? Wonder what that flag's doing, y'all. Is that alerting the camera? Is the camera seeing movement? I know you're all watching. You watch all my videos. Keep watching. I'm looking like Mr. Potato Head and shit. Fat bastard. Alright, y'all. Yep. Broke ass bankroll. Back at it. Back at it. On this part 2. Got the boxes totally welded on there. Got the rear end narrowed. 8.5. Super drops. Coilover brackets. Gonna have my brace set up on there. See that bar in there? That bar makes it true. So when I cut the end off, see this one's a little bit farther, you know, again, that's hot. I just welded the side off. But it's offset just a little bit because when you cut it out, these axle tubes be bent. They bend up and forward and stuff, so the ends. But this makes it true. True. I explain that over and over and over to so many people. And you could explain it, and explain it, and explain it, and they still don't get it. Boxes are on there. Narrow is done. I'll do the coilover brace and everything next. And anti-roll. And the undermount brace. And center up the rear end. And put the coilover tabs up top. Get the rear end set at ride height where I want it. Boom. And then mount the coilover where I want it. Figure out the angle I want it to sit on the tabs at the right height. And tack the tabs on, and then be able to fully roll the tabs on. I'm gonna have to get this stock mount out of here. Probably trim these back some more, because whenever the anti-roll goes, which will probably be right in here, somewhere right in here, then I'll have to remount this. But this don't have to be this. I got plenty of that style muffler brackets. Hangers, whatever you want to call it. I thought I snapped the bolt off earlier, putting the control lines in the frame, and look at this generic ass 3/8 3-inch. Snapped it. I was broke. Grade 8 bolts before. I snapped them over tightening shit by hand. Alright, y'all. I had fun out here. I'm about to go eat me some dinner. Bet that up. We got a lot of noise. A lot of noise. Finish up with a fan blowing. Wow. The inducer fan is going. Running up that wood. It was nice out. It's just I need to get that one out. But there it is. We have coilovers are on. They're straight up and down. The cross brace obviously is in there. I got the tabs tack welded on. Now I gotta pull the coilovers back out. I always put a line on the tubes. So I'll take that tube, set it on the bed, set the 4-foot level next to it, and I'll draw a line down it. Then I can measure off that line to any points that I want to, make sure that I have it square, but I put that pole in there, that piece of tube in there. This was going to be the one for the brace, so the first one I cut an inch too short. I don't know how I cut an inch too short, but I cut it an inch too short. Now that one's going to be for the underneath brace that I do down here. But I put it up in there. I tapped it in place with the hammer. I left it kind of tight. I tapped it into place, tapped it into place. I grabbed the level, or my little degree wheel right here. I put it up there, 0, 0, 0. Then I measured off that line. There's these 2 holes in the frame right there. Measured from there to there and 13 inches to my line. Now that's just where the line ended up on the tube on the frame. You know, if you were a little bit that way or a little bit that way, you know, it would change that. So don't use that number for your number. But by Chevys again, that bar has to go all the way up into that curve. And then it has a little pocket for the fuel lines to go through still. And now that we don't run anti-rolls off the top, box Chevys are just too close. Look at the rear end to the bone. So now if you add the anti-roll to the bottom of that, or to the front of that, or whatever, it ends up hitting if you're tucking real hard. So undermount, anti-roll, and how now I come off the brace that goes underneath here and forward instead of using the big ass brackets. It still would go mount here, but I'll show you how I do it, which if you watch the other videos you see it, but every video picks up more people so they can run. Now, what's crazy is some people are like, oh man, but the axle tube, this and that. The axle tubes bend over time. Stock rear ends bend. That's why you'll see this stuff offset. So is it better to use a new rear end? Is it better to put new tubes in, this and that, blah, blah, if you're going this far? If you were needing everything to be within a 1/16 of an inch, yeah, but as long as you know how to measure and set everything up. So this end over here, I do believe, it's still a true center, but this end ended up a little more, or this one's down a little more than that one, but everything's set level right now. So it throws off little things. So now the cross brace is in there level, the car's level, the coilover tabs, how these are in here, this height, that height, measuring from that bar down to this bottom hole is 18.5 inches. So knowing that both sides are in the same spot, this and that, but the box is welded to the tube here, but now this is cut, this is bent, so this is going to be off. And as long as all this stuff is made, you can always adjust the anti-roll a little bit to help level the car off. If the car, I mean, right now it's showing like maybe a half inch, that this side's lower, that side's lower, but that's in the air, sitting here, this, that. But the anti-roll, how the links work, and how you can put more pressure to one side, whatever. But if you go to put it in and it's not, it's binding, then it's too far off. But you don't have it bind when you're at the right, when everything's squared up. Anyways, I don't know. Whatever. If you follow, you follow. If you don't, whatever. If you're doing a 9-inch, brand new rear end, everything's going to be exact, this and that. So you can't just go off of one thing and think that that's going to make it perfect. I measure off the front spot of this hole with a tape measure, and I come to here. This side, 21 1/8 to this. You can go to center of holes, stuff like that, whatever. The other side, bam. I measured with the level on here to the frame. I got 2 inches. That's how I got 2 inches. I take the 4-foot level out here, make it plumb, measure to here, and it's 11.5. So lots and lots of measurements. The upper control arm right now, for the rear end to be in this car perfectly square, this upper control arm is a 1/4 inch shorter than this upper control arm. But that's why we want double adjustable, so we can make everything, we can adjust everything. You buy arms that are not double adjustable and you can't adjust, then you buy arms that are just single adjustable. Then you're unbolting this side, dropping it down, twisting it, putting it back in, boom. Then you're measuring, and then, oh, you're too far, or not enough, then you gotta drop it again. These, you just unjam and twist it, and then jam it. Measure. Obviously, when you're all done, you jam it. But double adjustable. If you're gonna spend the money, spend the money. There's very expensive ones out there that you should not buy. But you got to do your research and take a couple different people's information. Don't let these people that don't know what the fuck they're talking about talk you into knowing what you talking about, what they talking about, when they don't know what the fuck is going on. Smoke too much or just dumb. Too many dumb motherfuckers out there, period. I'm not perfect. Never said I was perfect. Never claimed to be perfect. Pinion is 89, so pinion's about 1 degree up right now while it's in the air. This is 16 inches from center to there, so we know the wheel is 32 with a 26, so it would sit level. We know the spring is gonna, there's a lot of weight in this trunk, but a 250 spring would squish down about 2.5, 3 inches. This is a 300 spring with all that weight, so it's going to go down 2 inches. So right there, just by leaving it where it's at on the adjustment, drop it down, the springs are going to be turned down. They're not going to be up like that. But when you drop it down, it's going to go down 2 inches. It's going to go 2 inches of squat. Right here to the corner right here, from center to here, is 16.5. So you got your 16 inches, which is where your wheel is. You got your half-inch gap. Can it be moving back more? Yes, you got plenty of adjustment for that. So, yeah. I'm gonna pull these coilovers back down because I got the tabs tacked in up there, and I'm gonna fully weld those tabs in. And I fully weld them. I weld the outsides first, and then I weld as much of the inside as I can. Let me show you that welded up tag. I didn't have no shield on, so I was closing my eyes and letting it rip. Sometimes I open my eyes, but that's just a tag. I'll be able to go right around that. The more weld, the more penetration. Penetration. The neighbor likes that. Likes that word, penetration. He likes to penetrate. Mark. Anyways, there we are. Let me get back to it. Alright. Feeling a little high off this spray paint. Rear end is all fabbed up. Brakes is on it. Anti-roll. Tabs are right there. Boom. So now I just put like 2.5 cans of paint on this. And now we're gonna let it dry. Then I'll bolt up everything and I'll figure out. Probably gonna end up drilling a hole to put the mount side up there and then weld to here, or I'll just clean the spot right there and weld it. So, you know, whatever. Or something like that. Something like that, but I got a ton of these. This is the one I cut off. And got a whole bunch over there. But yeah. We are getting closer to the finish line. I'll be able to bolt this all up. Then I gotta do the gear setup. So I'll clean out these tubes better. I'll run a rag through there and pull, clean them out. The little gullies that are right in here. See that? It's dirty. Gotta get that out of there. So when you narrow rear end, you gotta clean, lib, and shit out of it. So clean that up, get the gear set. I'll probably put the ring gear in the oven. 308 in its stock. It's got the 6.2 LS in it. And then we went 390, so 390 gear gonna go in it with the 26s. It should work good. Should drive good. Highway, everything, not screaming, and still be able to get it. But yeah, that's where we are at. I am high. You notice you can see a little bit of light, right? Look what I did again, y'all. I found my lamp. My headlamp, put some new batteries in it, boom. Since my kid lost my other light, my badass little Matco light, he stuck it up underneath one of his friend's cars, was working on it, and never got it back. They swear they checked for it too. You know how that goes. Alright y'all, that is drying. And I can't do nothing else underneath until that's dried. So, I'm going out, give me some to eat. Bet that up, y'all. So yeah, bolt the rear end all up, coilers, all that, set the gear, get that in there, get the axles in there, bearings and seals, set it down, set height, and then front alignment. So, very close to being done. And when I go to set it down to start the alignment, I'll put the battery charger back on it. I don't know if it's dead, it might be dead. But yeah, alright y'all, got that, a little more to go, part 2. Back on it. You guys hear that? It's very, very, very windy outside. So, a little smoky in here. I tried to run the wood burner, thinking it wasn't going to backfeed as much. And again, the reason it does is because I don't have the chimney high enough. I don't have this set right, that set right, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't have a cap on it, so it's got that 6-inch tube exiting the building, and it's wide open. And it's leaning towards the south. That's the south. So that wind is just the turbulence going in there. But I thought I could get away with running it and it wouldn't backfeed bad, but it backfed and it blew the door open again and it filled the shop with smoke. So I've already had the shop door open. You can see that it is up there. I've had the big door open a couple times. It's like 44 degrees out. It sucks. My eyes are burning and watering. Let's see. Yeah, they're burning and watering. Everything, I painted everything yesterday. I just bolted it all up. The coilovers are not where they're gonna be. The springs are set where they're gonna be set. The control arm is set where it's gonna be set, as in, I'll probably have to move front to back a little bit depending on when I put the wheel on. The anti-roll is basically there. But once I set it down and measure the car, make sure the car's level or make the car level, one of those might have to be, like I said, I think I said it was a 1/4 inch. It's a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch difference. So right now what I'm doing is, it didn't come out too bad with the paint. You know, a little flat, but that's what we wanted. We don't want that high ass gloss. So this side, it's all coming out the same. Little bit of overspray. You can feel in the arms, just as if there was dirt after driving it down the street, whatever. Like I said, I weld the inside of the cabs as far as I can, and all the outside of the cabs. The shadow is making it look fucking hard, but I'm not hiding nothing. Let's see, can you see? No. Anyways, it's all penetrated, it's all good. You can see it got smoke in here again. There's just a little bit of wood left in there right now. I'm letting burn out. That is in play of the exhaust. Somebody asked, well, what about the exhaust? And that was on my Facebook videos. So the exhaust needs to be rerun on this car anyways. So if you ran a center outlet muffler or flip this muffler around so you had it come out here, then you'd have plenty of room to come this way. Or the muffler just needs to be over there more, and now the exhaust pipe will come, yeah, subtract what I said about this side. Make the exhaust over here, the port to be here, then you can come up, over, oh, this tank's already cut out for it, and then you run right on this side of the shock, so clears. See, a lot of these guys, they'll put the coilover all the way in here. Now you can still come up, over, clear, boom. So what I'm saying is it works. This side, same thing. Obviously this bubble tank is giving, boom, a lot more clearance. To do the exhaust, you need to be on a drive-on lift, so all the weight is on there, and then you know how far your bend is gonna go up and drop down. So that's why I say, yeah, you can't go to no rinky-dink exhaust shop and think that they're gonna know how to bend it correctly and make sure it clears everything. And if they only have a 2-post lift like this, the suspension's hanging. So if they make it kind of close and they set the car down and it touches and this and that, you need a place that has, you need a good place. You gotta have a good place to do exhaust. Yeah, definitely have to have a good place to do exhaust. look at that restriction, like somebody was saying before. You want that to be one solid pipe all the way, and then this is like 2 1/4. So too small. You want at least 2.5 inch exhaust. But yeah, so I'm gonna put a hanger back on here. But I cut these like this. Dudes change the exhaust areas. I cut them like this so that way they'd be out of my way with this. But I'm gonna hook this back up. I'll weld it to here. I'll hook it to here. I'll probably just use a cell tab screw, just go to here, because depending on what they're gonna do with new hangers and shit like that. And then you can put tails on it. Tails are not a problem. You know, you got them haters out there that want to say, oh man, he does it like that and you can't do exhaust and blah blah, and I've heard that shit for years. So you can do exhaust. But yeah, I just blew this shit out again, but I'm gonna take a rag, stuff it on here, take the pry bar, push it through so I can get as much debris out of these tubes as possible. See, there's some debris in there. Now, once you get all this done and painted like this, or even if you got powder coat, you don't want to be using brake clean. You just want like maybe like a mineral spirits or just a Dawn soap and water. Mix it up and spray it, because you want to get all the debris out, but you don't want to eat up your paint or your powder coat. Brake clean to powder coat dulls it, so you'll see flat spots in it. Oh yeah, so I'm gonna drop the drive shaft from the yoke, get the pinion out of there, take the pinion bearing off of that pinion to see the thickness of that shim. Most likely use that shim on the new setup, because that is the distance of this housing. So it's probably 32, 35 thousandths, 30 thousandths, something like that. Pull that off. That's why I got the press forward back there. But I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do these bumper hangers real fast to get that done. And then I can tighten up. I already tightened these up. I'm gonna tighten these up right here. But I'm gonna leave this one just in case I gotta move it out of my way to do this stuff. This is gonna stay so I can tighten that up. This is gonna stay so I can tighten that up. These I'm not gonna tighten up because I originally had it set one hole down, but I was afraid I didn't have enough room here to get the gear in and out. So I just set it there for now, and that'll be adjusted once we set the car down. But I gotta get in here and get this. I'm gonna show you guys. I mean, I showed you before. That's a lot of shit inside that gully right there. So that's where we're at on this thing. So today, I mean, yeah, it takes me a little longer to do stuff, but I just deal with so much dumb shit. This heater right here today, it didn't want to turn on. Yesterday, this light is getting full of, it's an LED light, so it's getting full of metal shavings. Well, then if you go and you move this light, it shorts out, you know, cuts off, and then it pops the breaker. And whoever did the electric in here, it's just got one wire that goes over there, and then it's not even popping a breaker, it's popping this GFI outlet. So when it pops this GFI outlet, then it shuts the heater off and shuts that heater off. And if you don't catch it in time, this one starts pouring out diesel fumes and smoke out of the intake. That one blows it out, the exhaust outside and a little bit inside, but you have to get them turned on. Once you pop it, you got to get it turned on. So then if you got something that's continuously popping this shit, boom. Well, then it was working yesterday. Then I come in here today and it wasn't working, and it kept going into some fault mode. It had a triangle with the exclamation mark in it, this and that. Well, my kid yesterday went and got diesel, and he filled up that one over there, and he had said to me, you're gonna have to fill up this one. There's the can. Well, the can was still over there, but I came over here and I could have sworn this was full. So I was fucking with this thing for 25-30 minutes, unplugging it to reset it, turning it on, and it would pump, 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 pump. You can hear that click, click, click. And then also they go into this fault mode and this and that and blah, blah. The old lady was out here with me, and at the end, and trying to figure it out, can't figure it out. She looked up the code, this, that, whatever. The motherfucker was empty. Put gas in it, turned it on, turned right the fuck on. So, there you go. But I was frustrated as hell because that was going good, and I was right there with it for about 15 minutes, and it did not puff back. I walk away, I'm messing with that one. I turn back, look, and there's nothing but white smoke everywhere in here. Then, the wind was blowing so hard, it started puffing, puffing. You know, I got holes in the bag. Puffing, puffing. All of a sudden, big gust of wind. The metal door flew open. Boom. Made even more smoke in here. So the wind is supposed to stop by 7 o'clock. But it just pissed me off. So, yeah, it's cool having a shop at the house. It's too easy for me to stay inside. Only because I deal with so much dumb shit. And the cold, the wind, it's wide open out here, this, that, whatever. I don't know. Shit just be pissing me off. And I just don't want to do shit. Then I still do shit. And then I get pissed off more. And I run into dumb shit. What did somebody say on one of the videos too? Something about, why don't you recycle? I was recycling. I had my scrap bin next to the house, but then the neighbor cried and complained to code enforcement about commercial equipment and this and that, blah, blah. And they gave me they told me, asked me, you know, how long do you think? I said, I don't know, maybe 3 months. And then I went like a day over and they came out. Didn't even let me know anything. I never saw no paperwork that said you had until this day to get rid of it or you'll get fined, this and that. No. Then they turned around and they sent me a paper that I had to go to court. So I can't keep the scrap bin here because the commercial equipment, blah, blah, blah. And instead of it, the code enforcement originally said it's a recycle bin. Cool. Left it alone. But because this dude's a crybaby so fucking bad, commercial equipment. This dude drives a company vehicle and he parks it on the side of the building by his house. And that's okay. He's got an inoperable vehicle behind his house. It's okay. He's got a storage container behind his barn. That's okay. It's okay for him, but it's not okay for anybody else. I don't call code enforcement and complain about this and that and this and that and blah, blah. I don't give a fuck what the fuck he does over there. Have fun. And talking your chickens, talking your roosters. Is that what you want to do? That's what you want to do. Do it over there. Fucking hard. So anyways, all this shit's building up in here, but I don't give a fuck. It just makes me gonna have more buckets, this and that. I'm gonna give me one of those trailers that, you know, it's like got metal sides and shit on it. I don't have to have it too big, but after a couple things, this and that, I can just, you know, fill up the back of it, drive it in to the scrapyard. Not that big of a deal, but just crybaby fucks, man. Crybabies. There's too many fucking crybabies out there. Obviously, look at the news. There's too many crybabies. Anyways, y'all, like, this motherfucker, all he ever do is talk about that dumbass motherfucker. So, I deal with a lot of dumb shit. I gotta finish insulating it in here and get a bigger furnace or a couple more of these diesel heaters for next year, and I'll be fine. The diesel heaters are actually, and this one is really nice. I paid what, $130 for this one. This one moves some air. That one does too, the little one, but that one's like way small. I didn't know it was gonna be that small. So anyways, now that thing's just burning out. My eyes are burning just a little bit. But I'm gonna probably clean this table off. Got the gear, bearing kit, rear end cover, and the true track right there. So I'll get that stuff cleaned up, get this over there, and start pressing the carrier bearings on there. Get the pinion set, the bearing on there, everything. Get the pinion in the housing. Once I get this pinion out of the housing, I'm going to clean up the housing some more in there. The gear lube is in the back of my kid's truck. I have the brake lines. I have the brake lines right here in the silicone ultra black, just like the neighbor likes it. Pussy. Willwood rear brakes right there. And yes, I did clock them a little far. It's a little far. It's on the caliber, you know, I ended up down here. But it's all good. Put big brakes on it. It'll be, you know, bigger caliber. So then it'll fill this up more. The narrow on this, like you said, it came out to 2 7/8 is what it came out to. Originally I did 3, but when the axles came, the axle difference from stock axle to aftermarket axle was 2 7/8, so an 8 less than what I wanted. So that 2 7/8 narrow. I'll get the axles in it, and I'll give you guys a measurement of what this one measures. I went the silver Landau, grayish Landau, that rear end was 53 inches, and I ended up running a 1/4 inch spacer on both sides. So there you go, it would be 53.5 for a 26, 28 with a 7-inch lip, 3-piece wheel, 3-inch, you know, 3 back barrel, 7-inch front barrel. Then you got, it had a 295/25 tire on it, so the 53 inches would have probably cleared with the 275/25 tire. So 53.5 to 54 inches, perfect for a box Chevy with a 7-inch lip. From stock I do believe is 61 inches. And then both these axles that came out of this car were 30 3/8. That's the numbers I have written down on the corner of this bench. 30 3/8 is what came out of this car. We went 27 3/8, but they ended up coming 27.5. But 30 3/8, 8.5. So there you go. 30 30 be 60. 3/8 3/8. And then the center pin is what, 5/8. So it's closer to 62 inches stock. But this would be a 2 7/8 narrow on both sides. 7-inch lip, 26 or a 28. We'll go right on. So some people were asking this and asking that. I know I need files and shit like that. And if I'd have kept files all these years off of every single car, that'd have been excellent. All right, y'all. I'll get back to it. All right. Got this backing plate on there. Got the bearings and seals in there. Put some anti-seize on there to put it in. And then put anti-seize on the seal itself, so when the axle slides in the first couple times that it goes around, it doesn't burn the axle. Burn the axle seal. Got the gear in there, all set. Oh, I put it in park already. You can see the. Let's see the rest of it. I already put my hand in the shadow. Anyways, it's a little tight. Well, that's good. 390 gear, 26s, and now be fine. I'll move this back up, or back down. It's in the middle. Got this side, taking the e-brakes and all that bullshit off the other vacuum plate. So I get the vacuum plate on this side. this paint up here. Using fine thread bolts with lock nuts that come in the shop kits because I have tons of them laying around. So that's all on there. Those are tight. Top of the shocks are tight. Tight. Gotta get some grease in here. These are tight. The car side's tight. That's what I do with the muffler hanger. That's, you know, putting it on the other side and this and that. I can do that, but it's getting changed. And the only reason I say that is because these are singles. So if they were to come loose, oh, they got new bands. If they were to come loose, you know, it could possibly come down. But whatever. This shit's way too small for 6.0. Way too small. Restriction and all that. That's tight too. So. Alright, we're about to put this other backing plate on and slide the axle in and see where we're going from there. I didn't get the bolts ready for that, so. Alright. Look at that. Everything's on there. The gear is in there. 390. 30 spine axle, 30 spine center, true track. Found some gold washers to put on the cover because I don't know, I just like to have the washers on there so that way the head of the bolt don't dig into the cover. And these covers, aftermarket covers, this powder coat right here is on the edge, the back, the side that seals to the rear end. So as you can see, I ground the rear end and I just use my battery one, but 40 grit garnet disc, boom. And then the back of the cover, you have to do that. Put a little much silicone on there, but that's fine. Let it dry. I'm gonna let it sit overnight so I can put the gear lube in it tomorrow. Everything's tight, everything's snug. The drain plug, pull the drain plug out, put a little silicone on the threads, put it back in. The studs right here, screw them out, take the nut off, whatever. Put a little little silicone on the threads, screw it back in, snug it onto the back of the main cap just a little bit. Put your nut on there. Then, to tighten the nut up, the Allen key that you use here, you hold the center and you tighten the nut to the cover or whatever. And that's how you do that. So, if you don't do the bolts, when you go around the cover with the silicone, put the silicone on the cover side, or if you put it on the rear end side, whatever, go over the hole so that way you make sure when the bolt goes in there, the bolt gets silicone on the threads. I've seen so many people with brand new covers, this, that, whatever, they don't grind the back of it, it leaks. They don't grind the rear end, it leaks. They don't put silicone on the threads, it leaks out of the bolt hole. They don't put silicone on the drain, leaks out of there. You rarely ever see them come out of here, but I have seen them come out of here. And then, yeah, you can fill here. So the fill, same thing, which we didn't do the fill one yet. So you can fill it here. That's a plus, but getting to it is a motherfucker unless you got badass tools or the little hose. But I can totally get to that one. You know, that comes off with a 3/8 extension, ratchet, whatever. Clean out the grit out of there. I have a extension that I ground flat so it fits in there really nice and snug so it doesn't strip that out. Pop that open, squirt the juice in there. It holds about 2 3/4. And we went with 85-140. 85-140? Something like that. Thicker. The thickest you get nowadays. The step piece, the ring is on there, boom. The backing plates, as you can see, have that little bit of clearance. I'm trying to show you that you can see through it, boom. This side looks like it probably has just a pinch more than that side, but that's okay. It's shimmable. I haven't tried the rotor on there yet, or caliper on there yet, because my hands are dirty as shit and I don't want to mess up the wheel wood. Right. But I'll be able to fill the rear end, get the calipers on, get the brake lines on, lead the brakes, set it down, and we'll see where I have to move this. But I'm pretty sure it should tuck good, and if it doesn't tuck good, we're gonna make it tuck. And how we make it tuck is to go down. So the next set of holes down, only like, you know, a ½ inch, 1 inch, 2 inch, whatever. We'll get it to go down. The way I have it all mocked up and how I put the shock setup in on the tabs up there, it's almost as close as this could go up there. So I know that's plenty of adjustment to tuck. And when I built it, I built that. That's at, like I said, 16. From center of that axle to there is 16. 26 is 32 overall. So right there, boom. And then when the shock compresses, when it goes down about 2 more inches. So right as it sits right now, 2 inches of tuck. So 2, let's just say 3, 4, 5. Even at 4 inches of tuck, boom. I know I be talking fast as shit sometimes. But all right, y'all. Threw them stickers on the axles. This axle slid in easy, like very easy. That axle over there, it was tight. So, I mean, not very tight. Like I tapped it with the rubber mallet and it went in. And then I was able to slide it back out with the C-clip on there. Oh yeah. All right, y'all. Look, knowing how to set everything up, this, you know, that tightness right there. If you go all the way out, then it's hard to weld the tab. But right there is good. So the inside of tab from frame to here is 3.5 inches to the inner tab. So that, if that helps anybody. And then down here, like I said, the split leaves 35 inches in between. So it was, I think I went 10.5, or this is 9 inches here. So you can set your boxes if you build an 8.5 or a 7.5. The centers normally measure 17, but that doesn't matter. You take your overall, divide, you know. So you want it to be 35 in the center. So then you figure out the number. So overall 50. If you want it to be 40, you split the difference. This and that, you got 10, you split the 10 in half. You got 5, and then you put it where you want. So mine came out to 9 on the inside. Bam. Keeps the lower control arms still on a little bit of an angle, which they can be straight. This being offset. Ooh, I chipped it. How the fuck did I chip it? I hit it with something. But it still leaves room for exhaust. Everything is fitted. I've been doing this a long time. This is my setup right here. My setup. It's a true chassis box, true chassis brackets, but I was the first one to do it this way. Then he makes them in the center. So in the center, that means your box has to go in a little bit more, which is fine. Anybody doing coilovers on the inside, and you'd end up with a shock being too long. This has got way more adjustment to it than the brackets here. But if you do the brackets here and you can't go low enough, and you're trying to loosen your spring and all that, and you're clanging and banging, you go with the shorter shock. I'm telling you, I know all this. I've been doing this years. Just because I don't have the nice, you know, shelves and this and that and blah blah and everything, I gotta do everything one step at a time. And I've been screwed over a lot in my life, so whatever. It is what it is. I'm out here doing it. And on that note, bet that up. I'll get back to with the calipers and shit on it. Back on it. Bet it up, bet it up. Let me show you guys something. A lot of people ask about backspace and this and that and how you measure the wheel and blah, 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 blah. So, as you see, 4-foot ruler, 4-foot level, blah, blah. Use a ruler, use whatever, a true straight edge, right? So, the edge of the rim, boom. Standing up, back of wheel, boom. 2.5 inches of backspace, okay? So this is considered a reverse lip because it has a short backspace. Now when you get into the three-piece wheels, the three-piece wheels are going to come out to, I think, 3 3/4 or 3-inch barrel comes out to, or 3.5. So 1 inch difference. So when you're narrowing, you narrow more for a billet wheel because of the shorter backspace. It puts the wheel, if you only shorter, 2 inches, it's only going to go 2 inches the front, whatever. Now if you bolt a three-piece wheel on there, it's going to stick out that 1/2 inch more. So, or excuse me, it's going to sit under a 1/2 inch more. My bad. I'll be confusing myself sometimes, shit. But, so this one is, let's take measurement again. A lot of times I ask people to measure wheels. So go, see, this is a by 9, so it's 10 overall. So if this was a by 10, it'd be 11 overall. So it's 26 by 9, 10 overall. Now, lip is a 7-inch lip. So, boom, this one being a billet is coming directly out to 7-inch lip from the face. Some people can say here, some people can say here. Even if you went here, still considered a 7-inch lip. So, those numbers right there, how to measure. Front space, by putting the level on this side of measure, doesn't really matter unless you want to find out how far it's going to stick out. So what you want to do here is you would put the level on there. Let's see if I can do it. And film. And then you'd want to hook the back side of the wheel somewhat, and that'll give you how far it sticks out. I can't do both. 3, 4 things right there. So, but that would tell you from this to the front of wheel. Then you could go to your car and do the same thing. You could measure from here out, and that would tell you where you sit. But if 26 is on a box Chevy, you can bolt them on the back and set the car down, and then you bolt them both on the back, set the car down, and then you'll see how much it sticks out, and you'll see if the rear end's not centered. Stock control arms, the bushings will be worn out, rear end will be sitting more towards one side on the other side. So you want to put them both on there, see which one sticks out more, figure out the differences, and then it'll tell you. But this one right here is narrowed 2 7/8 on both sides. So I'm about to put this wheel up on here, put a lug nut or 2 on there. As you can see, you got the calipers on there. They're not clocked. They're not clocked as bad as I thought, but like I said, if somebody was to put big calipers on here, a big brake kit, that big brake kit's gonna be over here more. So then you still got your travel. So when this goes down, we're still looking at it probably being about 2 inches more here. And you can see it's in line with that. So, the purpose is for that. And like I said, this end, I went 50 degrees. Oh, 50. But all right, let me, gear lube's in it. Brake fluid was already running out of this one. I went to that one, I cracked that one, let it bleed, closed it, opened that one, fluid came out. So now I got fluid to the back calipers. I gotta check the master, do the same thing to the front, crack the right front open, let it get to where it starts dripping, close it, go to that one, do that, top the master off again, then do the old pump, 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 open, pump, 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 open. I should get one of those check valve things that they be showing, so that way I can do it all myself. I ain't gotta wait for anybody to help me. But they show that clear tube with the check valve, so that way it only lets the fluid go out. Then you put a cup right there, you catch the fluid, and you pump, 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 and it pushes the air out. Then you go back over there, you close it, go to the next wheel. But yeah, farthest one first is the back right, then the back left, then the front right, the front left. A lot of talk out there about brake pressure and this and that, and again, people saying you have to have hydro boost. No, if your brakes work properly, your stock brakes on the front, if your slides are You know how these cars are, they got the pins, even G-body. The slide pins, the little slides in the caliper, everything has to move properly for your brake pedal to work properly, your brakes to work properly. Your vacuum booster stock comes on the cars. The master cylinder is a pretty big master cylinder for box Chevy and for G-body. They do push a lot of pressure. Plenty of guys out there that talk about it. So when you get into needing hydro boost and shit like that is when you're running superchargers or turbos and you got a big ass cam or whatever and you got no vacuum. So then what your vacuum booster is doing nothing for your brakes, so it's not helping. So you got a hard pedal, but then it doesn't want to stop. Bore sizes in the wheelwood calipers or the wheelwood master cylinders, different bore sizes for different setups. People want to have wheelwood and they want to buy the cheap bottom dollar master. That master ends up being for a manual brake car. Doesn't push enough. The piston, the stroke, everything is not right for these calipers. If everything works properly, your brakes are going to work properly. If you have a big solid wheel, you know, we had the floaters and the Davins and all that back then. Now they're making the heavy shit again, and everything's closed off, and you got a lot of wheel weight. Then I can see you know, wanting to go this or that. But as long as your brakes are working properly. The rubber hose about, yeah, my brake line skills ain't shit. So anyways, the rubber hose that's up there, if those hoses go bad, they rot on the inside and they fuck up, and then they start causing to where you got a hard pedal, you got a high pedal, but you're not stopping good. Go for the hose. Put a brand new hose on it, bleed it. Your brake lines, make sure they're not leaking. Your front hoses do the same thing. The front stock hoses on the car will eat up on the inside, and then they'll cause it to where your caliper will drag. You'll push power, push the pedal, and the wheel doesn't want to release, and you're not getting proper braking. So again, don't let these people tell you gotta have big ass brake kits and this and that and blah blah, and there's a whole bunch of places out there that talk about brake pressure and this and that and what gives more pressure, and as long as everything works right. There's stock calipers that push a ton of pressure that work fine. Then you get into just a bigger housing, but then you still have, you know, you got four 1.5 inch pistons. Then you got the two little pistons. Now a stock caliper with a single piston has got, you know, a 2.5 inch, whatever, big piston, so you're pushing a lot of pressure on that area. So anyways, it's just, I don't even comment on the shit no more on Facebook and stuff like that, because there's just no point. Cause people are gonna listen to whoever they want to listen to, and that's the matter. But you can't drive a car with hydro boost and it be perfect and then say, oh my god, I gotta have hydro boost, when your car, your brakes don't work properly. So again, make sure your brakes are working properly, and then everything will work. Let me throw this wheel up on here and get right back on here. But I know what is this, part 3? Gonna be long as shit. All right, there it is, all 4 wheels molded on it. Let me show you the back. Wheels went right on. Like I said, it's a by 9, so you can see we got plenty up there. The lip is not trimmed. And then in the back, we have 1.25 inches, front and back. So if this wheel was a 8-inch lip, it would just add the 1 inch to the front, because it's still a 2.5 inch back space, reverse lip. So then 1 inch here, and then it'd be a by 10, 11 overall. And you can make it fit with trimming up there. But like I said, 28s would be by 10, or 28 by 10, a 3-piece wheel. So you would add a 1/2 inch back here, so that would, you know, keep the distance close to the frame. And then you would have another, so that would be by, this is by 9, 10 overall. The other inch back there, bam, the front would sit damn near the same. Maybe out a pinch more, maybe. Now, I'm gonna set the car down, and like I said, I moved it back to where I originally had it, and we're gonna see how far it goes down when I set it down. So I'm gonna move that cord and make sure there's nothing underneath the tire area, and I'm gonna get this thing set down, and we'll see how much the ass in squats. All right, bet that up. There it is, sat down for the first time. Obviously, he's in line. Obviously, it's dirty than a motherfucker. Just dusty, just dusty. But yeah, look at that. Tucking, pretty nice. Run some measurements. But this side from ground to the chrome on the quarter, 29 and a half. The alignment's not set in the front. The front might be off. I haven't checked height in the front. This side over here is 29 and a quarter from the ground up to the bottom of this trim. So, but yeah, she dirty. I'm about to blow it off. Obviously, I think the height is good in the front. So once it's cambered right and degreed back a little bit, I think the height is perfect. The back is tucking good. So yeah, I think that's all. Alignment, now we're down to alignment. Bleed the brakes, let me get it blown off. Alignment, bleed the brakes, adjust and jam the rear control arms. Let's see if we look this way. I haven't put the tape on to see if I won't do it on camera. Take the tape measure. Stick it out, Tom. Let's go. Edge of rim. Ow. It's coming up 2 and 3/8. But you see the column is pushed a little bit. Let's see if there's a major discrepancy. We got 2 and, look at that, y'all. 2 and 3/8. Rear end is centered side to side. So now, just got to double check front to back, which, I mean, I was already measuring it before in the air. And that's how I weld the coilovers in, is to make sure everything is legit. So it should be perfect right where it's at. All right, y'all. So buttoning up this alignment. This video is going to be a little bit longer than I wanted it to be, but whatever. But yeah, I mean, I really don't have to talk too much more about it except for get the alignment done and jam the back, get the brakes bled, and test drive. Then with the test drive, you know, break the brakes in. Got that up. Be back with that.